My son looked me dead in the eye on Christmas night and said, "You're a burden. We want to live without you. Deverance." 17 Well, Deverance. He said it in my own house, the house I'd helped him buy in Newcastle while the burnt roast chicken was still smoking on the table. For a second, I thought I'd misheard him. I thought maybe the heat, the stress, the noise, had twisted his voice into something cruel. But no, he meant every word. And if you're listening right now, check whether you're subscribed. Because what followed wasn't anger. It was clarity. I should have found years ago. I remember staring at that chicken, blackened on the edges, the skin blistered from the heat, smoke curled up like a warning I'd ignored too long. The fairy lights above us flickered gently, reflecting off ornaments Mia had bought on sale last week. Ornaments I paid for, just like everything else. It was supposed to be a warm Australian Christmas. One of those evenings where laughter spills into the yard, where the air tastes like BBQ and hope. But in our dining room, something colder than winter settled over me. I had given them everything. The down payment for this house, the retirement fund I'd built through 40 years swinging a hammer in Victoria and New South Wales, even my father's old pocket watch. I gave because I loved them. I gave because Evan was my only child. And after the divorce, he became the center of my world. I gave because parents give. It's what we do, until giving becomes the only identity we have left. I sat there, hands trembling under the table, waiting for him to laugh, to say he didn't mean it. But he didn't. And Mia, she didn't even look at me. She pushed her plate away, wiped the corner of her mouth, and said, "It's best for everyone, Graham. You should move on with your life." Move on. At 63, with no home of my own left, with the last of my savings poured into the life they were now asking me to leave. Something in me cracked, not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet shift, like a floorboard you step on, that finally gives way after years of pressure. That night, after they disappeared into the living room, pretending the conversation never happened, I went to the small guest room they'd given me, 4 meters wide, no windows, a mattress older than Evan himself. I sat on the edge of that bed, holding my breath, as if exhaling would make their words true. And then my phone buzzed. At first, I ignored it, but it buzzed again and again, a series of email notifications, one right after another. When I finally opened them, my stomach tightened. Payment confirmed. 120 withdrawn from your retirement account. Payment confirmed. 800 withdrawn from your retirement account. Payment confirmed. 320 withdrawn from your retirement account. Internet, security system, home insurance, streaming services, utilities, all charged to me, all tied to their address. My heart dropped. I scrolled further. My name attached to accounts I never set up, services I never used, and payment plans I never approved. For months, maybe years, money had been leaving my account without my knowledge, feeding their quiet comfort, while they called me a burden. I leaned back, the room spinning. The air felt thin, and for the first time, truly, I wondered if they had ever seen me as family at all, or if I had simply become their shadow income, the invisible safety net they felt entitled to. Outside my door, I heard Mia laugh at something on TV. A light, careless sound. Evan's voice followed, relaxed, unconcerned. They weren't thinking about the words they'd thrown at me. They weren't thinking about what I would do now, where I would go, how I would survive. They were relieved. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, listening to the ceiling fan cut through the warm air, listening to my own breath steady into something new, something sharper. A quiet reckoning, rising slowly, like a tide I could no longer hold back. By sunrise, the house was still. Heat was already pressing in through the windows, birds shouting from the gum trees outside. I walked into the kitchen, made coffee, set out 3 cups out of habit, then stopped myself. I poured 2 back into the sink. I sat alone at the table, the steam curling from my mug, and I rehearsed the conversation I hoped Evan would start. An apology, maybe. A moment of clarity, something human. Instead, he walked down the stairs, rubbing sleep from his eyes, and said, "Why are you still here?" And attention, just like that. No good morning. No regret. No recognition of what he'd done to me. I looked at him, my son, the boy I once carried on my shoulders along the shores of Lake Ontario during visits to family in Canada. The kid who used to beg me to stay up late telling stories about carpentry and life. Now he stood there, as if I were a stranger who had overstayed his welcome. I swallowed hard. Because, I said quietly, I found something last night. Well, town, he frowned. What are you talking about? It's socked now. I tapped my phone screen. The long list of withdrawals glowed back at me. The emails, the bills, the accounts. You've been using my retirement fund to pay for your life here. As one, Evan blinked, confused, then annoyed. Dad, it's not a big deal. You said you wanted to help. End quote. I said I wanted to help, I repeated. I didn't say you could take. It stays. A silence stretched between us, charged and fragile. And in that silence, something in me settled. Not anger, not grief, but a decision. A quiet, steady decision that would change everything for all of us. I pushed my chair back, stood up, and said, if you want to live without me, Evan, then you can start today. Days. He stared at me, not understanding yet, not realizing this was the first step of a journey he couldn't stop, not knowing what consequences were already on their way. But I knew, and I walked back to my room with a clarity I hadn't felt in years, because independence was exactly what they asked for, and I was finally ready to give it to them. The moment I closed my bedroom door, I felt my chest tighten, not with fear, but with a strange, steady calm, a kind of cold understanding. For years, I'd pushed aside small signs, little moments where something didn't add up, receipts that weren't mine, charges I didn't recognize, Evan brushing off questions with a quick, don't worry about it, Dad. And I didn't worry, because when you love someone, you don't assume betrayal. You assume you're overthinking. But that morning, as sunlight slid across the floorboards, the truth settled over me like dust. They hadn't just pushed me out of their lives emotionally. They'd been draining me financially for months, maybe longer. I sat down, opened my laptop, and logged into my retirement account. My nest egg, my safeguard. The money I'd worked 4 decades to build under Canadian winters, Australian summers, long shifts, and late nights. The balance hit me like a punch. Lower than it should have been. Much lower. I clicked the Statements tab and scrolled. Slowly at first. Then faster, as my heart thudded harder. Withdrawals. Automatic debits. Monthly charges. Service bundles I never signed up for. Internet. Security. Multiple streaming platforms. Home insurance. Electricity. Even lawn maintenance. All tied to Evan's address. All under my name. My throat tightened. How long? I whispered to no one. I scrolled back further. 6 months. 9. 12. The pattern didn't stop. They'd been doing this long before the Christmas dinner, where they called me a burden. A soft buzzing started in my ears. Betrayal, when it finally lands, doesn't arrive like thunder. It leaks in slowly, seeps into the cracks, until you realize the floor beneath you has rotted clean through. Just as I leaned back in my chair, trying to steady my breath, I noticed something else. An attached PDF under one of the transactions. I clicked it, expecting a standard policy document. Instead, my own name stared back at me. Agreement of full financial responsibility, signed by me. Except the signature wasn't mine. My hand froze midway to my mouth. The digital page flickered slightly as I zoomed in. Evan Whitford, acting on behalf of his father. I felt the air leave my lungs. My son had used my name to authorize charges. Someone had imitated my handwriting poorly, but enough to fool an automated system. A tremor slipped through my fingers, but anger didn't follow. Just a slow, heavy sadness. The kind that settles in your bones and makes everything feel heavier. I clicked another file. This time, it was an email exchange between Mia and the insurance provider. Graham has agreed to cover the full premium for us. Please update billing accordingly. Number 5. My vision blurred. Mia never spoke to me about insurance. Not once. I closed the laptop, opened it again, went through more statements. I don't know how long I was there, hunched over the screen, scrolling through months of silent theft. Time felt elastic, stretching, folding, pulling apart. At one point, A wave of heat flushed through me, then faded into something icy. This wasn't an accident, I murmured. They had planned it, bit by bit, until my finances became their invisible, endless reservoir. A soft knock broke my focus. Mia's voice drifted through the door. "Graham? We're heading out for brunch. There's leftovers in the fridge if you need something." As wise. Not, "Would you like to join us?" Not even a polite pause for my response. Just instructions. Spoken like I was a tenant overstaying his lease. I didn't answer. I listened to the front door open, close, their laughter fading down the driveway. The house fell quiet again. The kind of quiet that forces you to hear your own heartbeat. When I finally stood, my hands were steady, not shaking, not trembling. Steady. I walked to the kitchen, poured the cold coffee down the sink, and stared out the window. A magpie hopped along the fence, pecking at something in the grass. The sun was harsh already, burning across the yard, washing the neighborhood in that dry Australian brightness that hides nothing. "That's enough," I whispered. I pulled out my phone and opened each service one by one. Spectrum, cancel. Security, cancel. Home insurance, cancel. Streaming bundles, cancel. Electricity autopay, cancel. Lawn service, cancel. Every time I confirmed a cancellation, something loosened in my chest. Not revenge, not spite, just release. A slow reclaiming of the ground beneath my feet. Around the fifth cancellation, a thought surfaced, quiet but sharp. If they want independence, then independence is exactly what I will give them. I exhaled slowly, like I'd been holding my breath for years. My mind began piecing together a picture of the months ahead. Evan's salary barely covering the mortgage. Mia's part-time hours unpredictable. The bills I'd been carrying close to $1,800 a month landing squarely on their shoulders. The reality they'd built on my silent contributions was already cracking, and they didn't even know it yet. I closed my laptop gently, not slamming it, not shaking, calm, focused. A sudden ping made me turn. Another email notification. This one, from the bank. Your account was accessed from a new device. If this was not you, contact support immediately. And came. My pulse thudded once, twice. I opened it. Inside was an attempted login failed, but recent, from Evan's suburb. The timestamp hit me hardest. 5 minutes ago, while they were leaving for brunch. Ever. He would tell to the Lord. For a moment, the room blurred. Not from shock but from confirmation. All the quiet suspicions I'd buried for years finally surfaced, exposed under harsh daylight. My son wasn't just taking from me. He was preparing to take more. I felt a stillness wash over me. A new clarity. A resolve that didn't shout but hummed low and certain. They asked for a life without me, I said softly. So they'll have to learn what that really means. Has no sit. As I walked back toward my room, a cool breeze slipped through the hallway, stirring the edge of a curtain. Outside, somewhere down the street, a dog barked. A car engine started. Life went on, unaware of the quiet storm beginning inside this house. And as I closed my door behind me, the thought repeated itself. Firmer this time, this is only the beginning. By late afternoon, the house felt too small, too still, like the walls themselves were holding secrets. I stepped outside just to breathe. The heat over Newcastle shimmered off the pavement, and cicadas screamed from the trees so loud it felt like the world was vibrating. I walked without direction, following the footpath past houses I'd helped Evan paint, lawns I'd watered, fences I'd fixed. Every memory now tasted sour. Somewhere along the way, my feet took me toward Lake Macquarie. That's where Rob lived, an old mate from my construction days back in Canada, before we both settled here. We'd built cottages together, survived storms together, shared cold beers after long shifts. He was the kind of man who didn't vanish when life got messy, the kind you could turn to when everything else fell apart. His workshop door was open. Sawdust floated in the sunbeams like snow. Rob looked up from a half-sanded bench and blinked at me. "Graham, you all right? You look like you swallowed a brick." Ass. The once-day jut. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. All the anger, the disbelief, the humiliation, it tangled somewhere deep, refusing to form words. Rob didn't push. He pulled out a chair, handed me a bottle of cold water. and waited. So I told him everything. The insult at Christmas, the withdrawals, the forged signature, the attempt to access my bank from a new device. When I finished, Rob leaned back slowly, rubbing the side of his beard. "Mate," he said, "that's not just disrespect. That's elder financial abuse. And they've been counting on you not noticing." Oh, the words landed heavy but true. I looked at him. What should I do? Every. Rob didn't hesitate. "You need someone who understands this mess legally. I know a lawyer. Anna Clark. Good woman. Fights cases like this all the time. She helped my neighbor deal with his daughter, forging a guardianship document. Saved the man's house." End quote. I swallowed. "Does she take on people like me?" "Baya. Dat. Baya. People exactly like you." This wide. Before I knew it, Rob had already dialed her number. Anna's office sat above a bakery that smelled like warm bread and cinnamon. She greeted me with a firm handshake, calm eyes, and a voice so steady it made my spine straighten. "Rob told me briefly," she said, motioning for me to sit. "But I want to hear it from you." And that. So I repeated everything again. Slower this time. Every sentence felt like pulling out a splinter I'd ignored for too long. Anna took notes, occasionally raising an eyebrow at details that, to her, clearly signaled wrongdoing. When I mentioned the forged signature, she didn't even blink. "Do you have the PDF?" End quote. "Yes. As. And the banking notifications? They are. Yes. Two there. Thank you for watching." That stated. "And the attempted login? Say would my so." I nodded. "Good," she said softly. "It means we're not dealing with ambiguity. We're dealing with evidence." End quote. Evidence. The word felt heavy in my chest. Like something real. Something solid I could finally hold. She turned her laptop toward me. "With your permission, I'll request the metadata logs from the insurance provider, streaming services, and your bank. Paper trails rarely lie." We crafted this. I felt my throat tighten. "Will Evan know?" "Had after it's. Not unless we decide to act publicly. For now, this stays between us." Well, I exhaled slowly. A breath I felt like I'd been holding for months. Then came the part I wasn't prepared for. Anna opened a folder on her desk cases she'd handled before. She flipped to one involving a son who quietly funneled money from his father's pension for 3 years. As she spoke, the scenario mirrored mine so closely I felt my stomach twist. "Children don't always realize," she said gently, "that parents are not endless wells. When love is unconditional, some people treat it like it's unbreakable, until they break it themselves." Terrified. "They have desire friends." A lump formed in my throat. I looked down, pretending to study the papers. But really I just didn't want her to see the tears gathering. Then she said, "Graham, I think we should start by pulling every document Evan and Mia filed on your behalf. Especially anything tied to your identity." There. Her fingers tapped rapidly across the keyboard. A moment later, her screen lit with retrieved files. She clicked one. It opened slowly, as if the universe wanted to stretch my dread. It was an email chain between Evan and the utility provider. "Bill is overdue again. Can you switch payments back to my father's account? He agreed to help us permanently." End of mine. The heat in my chest surged. I never agreed. Not once. Anna clicked another. The doorbell camera footage. Rob had told her about my smart home setup, something Evan insisted on installing because Dad needs to feel safe. With time, Anna had gone ahead and pulled publicly accessible cached logs. The clip loaded. Grainy, but clear enough. Evan stood at the doorway, talking to an energy company rep. His voice calm, confident, rehearsed. "Yeah, Dad takes care of everything. Direct debit. He's retired lots of time to manage bills." In after Maine, my fingers curled into fists. My jaw locked. Hearing your own child lie about you. It doesn't feel like a punch. It feels like something inside you, just quietly, snaps. Anna paused the video and looked at me gently. "This is the kind of evidence that speaks louder than emotion. Do you understand what this means legally?" "I'm live." "Chris Evan," I swallowed. "That he's been using me." End quote. "That he's been defrauding you," she corrected. "And we're going to document every bit of it." There, yes. The reading today. For a long moment, The office went silent except for the hum of the bakery ovens downstairs. Then another thought pushed itself through my fog. Mia, I whispered. She must have known. End quote. Anna pulled up one final file, an email with a subject line that made my pulse jump. Just make sure he doesn't see the bills. Haft. Haft. My breath caught. Mia had written it. Sent from her personal email. CC'd to Evan. Something cold spread across my shoulders. A chill that didn't match the warm office air. Anna closed the laptop slowly, like she was sealing something sacred. Graham, she said quietly. You asked if this was real. If you were imagining things. You're not. And you're not alone anymore. This reassured. I felt my eyes sting. But I nodded. It was the first time, in months, maybe years, that someone had said those words to me. Anna stood. We should move to the next phase. It won't be loud. Not yet. For now, we gather everything. Quietly. 80. End. A beat. A breath. Then she added, before this is over, they'll understand exactly what they did to you. Joe's 9. Her certainty sent a strange shiver through me, fear and relief woven together. Rob drove me home afterward. Neither of us talked much. The cicadas were louder now, screaming into the twilight, like the sky itself was warning of what was coming. As we pulled up to Evan's house, I looked at the lights glowing inside. The life I had built for them, the comfort I had unknowingly funded. And I whispered, barely audible, you won't get away with this. And K. Because justice had begun quiet, steady, and unstoppable. Anna didn't move quickly. She moved precisely. Over the next 2 weeks, she gathered everything. The forged documents, the email trails, the doorbell footage, the metadata logs. Every piece of evidence sat in a blue folder she kept locked in her filing cabinet. She handled the truth the way a surgeon handles a scalpel, not with anger, but with control. During that time, Evan barely spoke to me. He walked around the house with a kind of restless irritation, muttering about the internet being slower, the insurance company sending new verification requests, the security app asking for updated permissions. He never suspected the source. That was the part that struck me most, how easily he assumed everything I gave him would last forever. One afternoon, while I was sitting on the back step watching the breeze move through the gum trees, my phone buzzed. It was Anna. Graham, she said. It's time. Has this. She asked me to meet her at the community hall on the corner of Belmont Street, a neutral space. Not a courtroom, not my home, not Evan's. A place where truth could be spoken without the weight of memory pressing down on us. When Rob arrived to pick me up, he slapped my shoulder gently. You ready for this? I nodded, though my stomach twisted with every heartbeat. Inside the hall, rows of plastic chairs faced a long folding table. A fan hummed overhead, pushing warm air in circles. Anna stood at the front, organizing papers, projecting a calm authority that steadied me. She'd invited Evan and Mia under the pretense of a family financial discussion. They agreed immediately, probably assuming I wanted to apologize or negotiate. But when they walked in and saw Anna and Rob, the confusion on their faces tightened into suspicion. What is this? Evan asked, arms crossed, voice sharp. A conversation, Anna said. One we need to have with honesty. This part. They took their seats reluctantly, Mia whispering something to Evan. He shook his head as if brushing off her fear. He looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable, the one causing trouble. Anna opened the folder, laid out the documents, and began. Over the past 12 months, she said calmly, Mr. Whitford's retirement account has been used to cover multiple household expenses at your address. These transactions were neither authorized nor disclosed. Tuverd. Gas. Inflact. Evan scoffed. Dad agreed to help. Anna lifted a hand. We're not dealing with suggestions. We're dealing with evidence. Ever one. She tapped the first sheet. A printout of the forged signature. Did you ask your father to sign this? Aye. Silence. Mia's eyes darted down, then away. The next was the doorbell footage. The audio crackled slightly, but Evan's voice came through clearly. Dad takes care of everything. Direct debit. He's retired. Lots of time to manage bills. They're good, dude. Mia shifted in her chair. This is taken out of context. As written, Anna didn't raise her voice. Would you like me to play the rest? Dave Ware. Will Dodd. I watched my son's face drain of color. For a moment, I saw the little boy he used to be, scared, unsure, looking for a way out. But the man sitting across from me wasn't that child. He was someone who'd taken advantage of love and counted on silence to protect him. Then Anna opened another folder, the one she hadn't shown me before. "This," she said, "is a credit application submitted in your father's name. $28,000. Why?" The room felt suddenly colder. Evan choked. That's a misunderstanding." Two re-teens. "A misunderstanding," Anna repeated, tapping the highlighted portion. "Your father's middle name is spelled incorrectly, but the signature matches your writing." Evan. 5 Pan asked. My chest tightened. Every breath felt heavier. I waited for anger, but it didn't come. Just a deep, hollow ache. Rob exhaled loudly. "You dug yourself into debt and used your own father to climb out. That's not stress, Evan. That's greed. It's make front." The tension in the room thickened. Mia's composure finally cracked. "You don't get it," she snapped at me. "We were drowning. You had savings. You were supposed to help." "Ando. Supposed. As if my life existed to float theirs." I leaned forward, my voice steady. "I helped because I loved you, not because I owed you." "It's not of man." Something shifted behind Evan's eyes. A flicker of panic, anger, shame, tangled together. "What do you want from us?" he said quietly. "Money? An apology?" "Wise." Anna closed the folder. "What Graham wants is respect. But legally, what must happen first is accountability." "It's no way." Mia's breath hitched. "What does that mean?" "That world." Anna spoke gently, but firmly. "It means we will be opening a formal case with the financial ombudsman and the bank. There will be an investigation into identity misuse, unauthorized withdrawals, and forged documentation. You may be asked to repay all funds." "That's no." Mia paled. "We can't afford that." "Explain." "Work tell." Evan stared at his hands, jaw tight. I could see the moment reality finally hit him. Every unpaid bill, every overdue notice, every convenience he'd taken for granted was about to come crashing down. I felt no triumph, no satisfaction, just a quiet grief and a strange sense of release. But then came the moment everything changed. Anna placed a final document on the table. "Not evidence. A letter." "I advised Graham," she said softly, "that he has two paths: public prosecution or restorative justice. The choice is his." As Mia swallowed hard. "So, what does he choose?" "8s." For a long moment, I didn't speak. I looked at my son, the man he'd become, the man I still hoped he could be. My voice came out low, rough. "I want the truth out. Not hidden, not whispered. I want you to understand what you did and why it can't continue." Evan's eyes glistened, but he didn't cry. He nodded once, like someone accepting a sentence they saw coming all along. Anna closed her folder. "Then we move forward. If you are." Silence spilled across the room. The fan hummed above us. Outside, a lawnmower buzzed faintly in the distance. Everyday life continued, unaware that a family was tearing open the truth inside a small community hall. Evan's voice finally broke the quiet. "Dad, please don't destroy us." "Well," I met his gaze. "I'm not destroying you, Evan. I'm stopping you from destroying me." Hez prose. And in that moment, something settled. Final. I could feel it in my bones. Because justice wasn't loud. Justice was steady. And it had already begun moving forward. One undeniable truth at a time. When the meeting ended, the air outside felt different, thicker, heavier, as if the whole sky knew something irreversible had happened. Rob walked beside me in silence, hands shoved in his pockets, the late afternoon sun catching the silver streaks in his hair. I didn't speak either. I didn't know how. Every word I might have said felt lodged somewhere deep, behind the ache of everything we'd just exposed. By the time we reached his truck, my legs felt like they'd walked 100 miles. Rob opened the door for me, then hesitated. "You did the right thing," he said. "Sometimes truth hurts more than lies, but it heals cleaner." "That's now, Luke." I nodded, though I wasn't sure healing was anywhere close yet. He drove me home in slow, thoughtful silence. When we pulled into the driveway, Evan and Mia were already gone. Their cars missing, their porch light off, as if the house itself had decided to withdraw from me, a final echo of the distance they'd carved over years. I stepped out slowly, looking up at the windows glowing faintly in the dusk. Once, this place felt like a promise. Tonight, it felt like a memory. Inside, the quiet hit me like a wave. I could still hear the hum of the fan from the community hall. Still see Evan's eyes when I spoke the truth aloud. I sank onto the couch, elbows on my knees, hands clasped, my chest tightened. Not with regret, but with a strange grief. The kind that comes when you finally stop pretending everything is fine. The first night after exposure passed slowly. The ceiling felt too close, the walls too bare. I kept replaying the look on Evan's face. A mix of guilt and disbelief. Like the world he'd built was crumbling under the weight of a truth he'd hoped would stay buried. I didn't sleep much. But for once, the silence didn't swallow me. It simply sat with me. 2 days later, a letter arrived. Not from Evan or Mia, from the bank. Your account has been flagged for unauthorized use. Case opened. Pending review. End code. Apnea. I pressed the letter to my knee. Evidence was moving. Systems were responding. Justice was no longer an idea, it was a process with teeth. Later that afternoon, I called Rob. Can I stay with you for a bit? As coming. He didn't ask why. Your room's already set up. 297. I packed my bag, the same bag I'd packed the night Evan told me to leave. But this time, it felt different. Back then, I left because I had no place in their lives. Today, I left because I chose myself again. Rob's home in Lake Macquarie smelled like cedar and old pine. Warm, familiar, grounding. His wife, Claire, made tea strong enough to cut through any sadness. For the first time in months, maybe years, I slept through the night without waking to anxiety tightening around my ribs. The next morning, Rob found me sitting on the deck, staring out at the water. You look lighter, he said. I don't feel lighter, I admitted. But I feel honest. Waste. That's the beginning, he said. Honesty is the door. Healing walks through it. A week later, my phone buzzed. A message from Evan. Can we talk? Please. My stomach twisted. I didn't answer right away. I waited until evening when the lake turned gold and the air grew cool. Then, I called him back. He didn't speak at first. I heard his breathing unsteady. Careful. Dad, he finally whispered. We got the foreclosure notice. I closed my eyes. He continued, voice trembling. I can't fix it. I don't know how to fix anything anymore. For a long moment, all I heard was his breathing. The kind of sound a man makes when he realizes the ground beneath him never belonged to him at all. Where's Mia? I asked. She left, he said hoarsely. 3 days ago. Said she couldn't handle this. I let the words settle, not with satisfaction, but with a deep, heavy exhale. Consequences weren't meant to destroy. They were meant to illuminate. And now he finally saw the damage he had done. Not just to me, but to himself. Dad, he whispered, voice cracking. I'm sorry. Not the kind of sorry that wants something. I mean, I'm sorry for real. I didn't see what I was doing. I didn't want to see. Something inside me shifted. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But something like a door unlocking. I don't want money, he said. I don't want you to come bail me out. I just want to make things right. If you'll let me. I swallowed hard. You need to rebuild your life, Evan. And you need to rebuild the part of you that thought using me was acceptable. I know, he whispered. Teach me. Please. It wasn't the plea of a manipulator. It was the plea of a man who'd hit bottom so hard, the echo still shook inside him. 3 months passed slowly. Evan got a job delivering medical supplies, hard work, honest pay. He sent me pictures of every bill he paid on time. He went to financial counseling. He stopped hiding behind excuses. And then one evening, he knocked on Rob's door. Not with arrogance, not with expectation, but with humility. He stood on the porch, shoulders slumped, eyes rimmed red. Dad, can I talk to you? We walked down to the water. The moon hung low over the lake, painting everything silver. Evan took a shaky breath. I want to thank you, he said. for stopping me, for letting the consequences catch me before I ruined my whole life. His voice wavered. I didn't deserve your love back then, but I'm trying to deserve it now. I looked at him not as the boy I raised, not as the man who broke me, but as someone standing at the edge of redemption, learning how to step forward. Evan, I said gently, you can't undo the past, but you can build something better from it. He nodded, tears slipping down his cheeks. I don't want to lose you, he whispered. You won't, I said. But you needed to understand that love isn't a resource you can drain. It's something you have to honor. For the first time in a long time, we stood side by side without bitterness tightening the air between us. Justice had done its work. Healing had begun. And as the moon shimmered across the lake, I finally understood. Sometimes the hardest truth is the one that sets you free. Sometimes the deepest betrayal is what teaches you dignity. Sometimes love needs boundaries to survive. Tell me, would you forgive them, or would you choose justice? Subscribe for the next true Canadian family story, and tell me from which city or town you're listening today.